Cell phones in school is a hot topic today. I'm here with Cody Lehman, the assistant principal at Hampton Park Christian School, who's in charge of student life, to talk about cell phones at Hampton Park. So, Cody, give us a little bit of history of our policy on cell phones at HP.
Yeah, we've made a change recently, but in the past, cell phones were allowed as much as any teacher would allow in each individual classroom. So based on their own personal policy, a teacher could determine how much a cell phone would be accessed throughout their time in their classroom. But as of just last school year, we've made a pretty big change, not even allowing cell phones to be a part of the environment, whether that be in an individual classroom or even the time in between classes as they make their way throughout their schedule during a day.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, I was part of that discussion too. We saw at Hampton Park a lot of abuse of cell phone use. Even though we had those policies that the teachers were responsible for, we still saw a lot of struggle on this part of the students, both in class and out. So tell me a little bit about our solution to that particular problem.
Yeah, we found a unique product that we started to pick up on from some celebrities who were even using them at their concerts or at their comedy shows worldwide, really. They got connected to a company called Yonder, and this company puts out a pouch that can secure a cell phone in it for a day. It protects it as they're going throughout their day, but it also locks it. So that as you enter the school building for the day, you're locking your cell phone away in that pouch, and it remains there for the duration of the school hours. And then at the end of the day, you unlock the pouch and take your cell phone with you to use for the remainder of the evening.
An amazing product. I know we found that parents and students were both concerned about not having a cell phone with them for a variety of reasons. So this was kind of kill two birds with one stone. They're able to have their cell phone with them throughout the day, right?
Yep, that's
They
correct.
just can't access it.
That's right.
And so at the end of school, when parents are concerned about coordinating for athletics or pickup, the kids unlock it and can access it at that point.
Yeah.
But throughout the day, they've got it with them for security reasons, et cetera. They just can't access it. So how has it worked so far?
Yeah, so far it's been a game changer. That's how we would view it. We've seen the environment change actually significantly. If you were to enter our school lunchroom during an average day a couple years ago, you're going to see a lot of tables with a lot of students looking at their cell phones and maybe occasionally showing someone else what they're looking at, but often looking at their own cell phone, engaged with what's going on there, following certain celebrities they like, or even friends who now are at a different school or moved to a different area, and not really being present with the people that are right there in front of them. And one thing that's been a very cool observation to make is how much louder every General Assembly area is when students are in it compared to how quiet it would be when everyone's on their cell phones. I mean, it's a noticeable difference.
So not only has it helped to solve the problem of temptation to access your cell phone when you shouldn't in class, it's also helped in regard to the environment with their interaction with one another in the lunchroom, in the hallways, and other places in a really healthy way.
Right. And I think that healthy way that you just said, it can't be overstated, because the huge difference that we're seeing is by creating meaningful relationships, or really an environment for meaningful relationships to develop, we believe we also can mitigate some of what we're seeing on the rise in adolescence of depression and loneliness. And those all-time highs, experts believe, are connected to the amount of time they spend on their phones, especially in regards to on their phones with social media sites. So oddly enough, they're more connected than ever, and not in a meaningful way. So they feel very lonely and they feel isolated.
Well, I know when we adopted Yonder a year and a half ago now, of course, the students were in an uproar. We both remember experiencing that. But what was so interesting, and I know you'd say this too, is how many students came to us even just a few weeks into the program. And it was typically a look around and a whisper, please don't tell my friends. This is great.
Right.
And I haven't heard, I literally cannot recollect a single student who has complained about it, which is remarkable.
It is, especially compared to the reaction that, we're close with many of the students. We have relationships with the students, and they're like, to me, the students refer to me as coach. They're like, Coach, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? How could you do this to us? I thought you were our friend. I thought you understood us. And then, like you said, just within weeks, on the down low, don't tell my friends, but actually, low key, this is great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know parents also had a number of objections. I dare say it was more students who were frustrated at the outset than it was parents, but some parents were concerned, first of all, about safety and the potential for emergency situations. We did our research. We talked to school safety experts, and they advised us to adopt this program because they feel like in an emergency, it's actually best for the kids not to have those cell phones. And so we were following that advice, shared that with parents. There are some parents who feel like they need to be able to communicate about anything and everything throughout the day. It was a little bit harder for them, but we found that it's been healthy for both parents and kids to not sometimes have that parent distraction throughout the day so they can really focus on their studies. I know another objection parents shared, and maybe you can elaborate on this a little bit, was the idea of how is my kid going to learn how to use a cell phone properly, use it well, responsibly, if they can't learn to do that in an environment like Hampton Park? What would be your answer to that?
Right. I actually want to talk about the safety one as well. I think, like you said, authorities recommended that students not have phones in moments of emergency for the communication to be quick and in a safer environment for the students during those times of emergency. I also like to speak to that when you mentioned that parents really want to be able to communicate with their kids. It was never about removing the communication piece. I mean, email is still available to them, and the school office will quickly get in touch with the student where an emergency or if a parent just really needs to get a message to their student. We have things in place to be able to communicate from parents to students, even if it's needed more quickly than they can check their email in a given class period. So we definitely still want there to be communication. It's more a matter of just how much time is devoted to a screen with rapid image sequencing or into investing in places that aren't your present environment. And both of those things we saw were a detriment to, they're really holding us back from achieving our objective with the students. And of course, ultimately that's what's most important. So that's to that. And then to the idea of, being able to use it as a tool. That's actually the argument I would say that personally I held for years here. I know that at Hampton Park, I thought we should keep students or cell phones in students' hands for a long time so that we could help them learn how to use such a valuable tool. And then what we found was it was actually really hard to do that in a meaningful way. And part of that was that the students were so attached to the phone that it was hard to help them learn how to live life for any moment of time without it. And we found that the lack of sustained thought, the inability to be present and focused with those around you, it was harming them from being able to take the journey with teachers and even learning how to use it, so to speak.
It actually exhibited addictive behavior in many respects. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know as we would talk, there were even times where you pointed out students walked up to you and shared something I think that was surprising in regards to that same exact concept. I don't know if you even would want to share that, but the one with some students,
where students would tell me that it was the first time they'd experienced an inability to access their cell phone, and they found how freeing that was, and they felt like they may have never really appreciated or understood what that was like without the inability to access it. And again, it's like that addictive behavior, which many of us adults, I think, struggle with a little bit too when it comes to those cell phones. We have found that we think we're best serving students to become responsible cell phone users in the future by letting them experience what it's like not to be tied to it all the time. So that hopefully in the future, they'll realize I can put that away. I don't have to be attached to it. I don't have to respond to every text in the moment. So we think we're actually accomplishing that goal better with the Yonder pouch as opposed to not.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. And I think it's something that you see with students. They find that as they learn the value to knowing when to use the tool and when not to, they're able to better accomplish the task that they might need a tool for, or be able to invest in the people around them when it's not present. It's you're in control of it versus it controlling you, which is a significant difference.
Yeah, amen. So we're thankful for the Yonder product. It's made a huge difference at Hampton Park.